Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to Have the Race Gone for round 3 of the VSRS Grand Prix Series here from the big croissant, the St Croix B layout here in the south of France. It is, of course, in the region of Provence, if I'm not completely mistaken, that we are here. Beautiful day it is. And we are here for some of that very best open wheel action that you'll find from the world of GT Sport at the moment. The VSRS has been showing itself to be a blast of a series. I'm here with Fons and Fynn. Ooh. So it's a 3-man team in the booth today. We're gonna have a lot of fun and we are ready to take you through the action. Say hello to the viewers, lads.
Hello everybody. How's everybody doing? Exciting times.
It is going to be, I think it's going to be a really good one here. This track lends itself to really good racing, and I think we'll see plenty of action. It's not an easy place to run away from the opposition, really, due to the lack, really, of high-speed corners. So, yeah, let's see here. I've made a little bit of a, oh, look at this.
Mamma mia. Looking good.
Thank you.
Looking very good.
Shut up the video there so you can see. For this race, sprint race, we're running tires ×4, fuel ×3, and for the feature race, if I'm not completely mistaken, it's both ×2. So a bit of a different setting than the last couple of races. Mediums will be mandatory for this round, so a single set of mediums is what the drivers will have to use. That is for the feature race, of course, as you can see, 22 laps. And with that, let us have a look at the standings. Chris, who's done brilliantly so far. He's really been on top of things. Has scored a bunch of points, but same goes for teammate Olympic. They're tied on 72 points for the lead. Well clear of Ryan, who's in third place there with 37 with 29. It's the Dutch racing giant, Race Royce from R70. Single filer is in 5th, and then, as you can see down the standings, so they lay. We have a bit of a special guest.
Le baguette.
The baguette.
Yeah, with the controversial W07 nose. Don't know if you've seen that. He's made it look so much slimmer than it actually is. Which, on the grid, actually looks very good. I'm very impressed with it. So,
In
a
all
bit of
fairness,
diversity now.
he has had a long time in his house, and I do know, because he has told us, he spent a long time working on this Super Formula livery, and he is quite proud of it as well. Oh,
Yeah.
he just got absolutely sandwiched by another 2 drivers.
Yeah, we're
going in
doing
opposite directions.
I get the sound that we're doing a final stock check, so we're going back to the standings for a moment with the fancy graphics in the background, because this is not what you want to see. You'll get a very wrong impression of these drivers and their capabilities if you were to see what they're doing in these stock checks. It's not for public viewing.
It is definitely PEGI 18.
Yeah, triple X rated indeed. But I think we're in for a really good round here. Just to go through who's on the grid today, as we mentioned, Shomar, of course. Chris is there for VLX Pinkery as well, one of the VLX drivers on the grid today, alongside Olympic as well. Joni is here for TX3 alongside Aura, who is also in the Mazda Festival, the Simpac Mazda Festival, and the main event race that we had yesterday. We've got Quinton here, the now teamless privateer. We have a privateer in the form of Quinton. We've got Cooper as well for TX3. Sorry?
Everybody's shaking their hands for that privateer. So keep going. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just having a look at who's lining up here for tonight. Flopsy, of course, who's been very fast indeed in practice here tonight for VQS on the grid is Nick. And is that it? Single filer, of course, here as well. So, well, that makes sense then. Just about to be.
I am done singing praise on single filer, because last time I did, he kind of let me down. I think I put too much pressure on him, so I'm going to let him do the talking on the track this time. There's a lot of very, very fast boys, and I'm very happy to see the amount of talent just keeps on increasing. Not that it was small previously or short in any way, but this is it's looking very good. It's looking extremely good, guys. Very happy to see all of these guys on track.
With the previous 2 weeks of racing and the quality of racing that we've had, because yes, we've had 2 weeks of racing already. Yes, the drivers are really fast, but the show that they have been putting on, this series has been so competitive so far. We've been seeing some fantastic racing, dare I say. And I think we might just be in for another good one here tonight. This track, by the way, is really... I don't like driving it. I find it difficult, to say the least. Actually, in these high downforce cars, I find it maybe even a bit easier, because a lot of the fast corners are easier to deal with. And it's really just about getting the exits onto the long straights. But speaking of long straights, this track has such opportunity for overtaking and for really good racing.
It's 7.062 kilometers, if anybody was wondering, with that amount of 14 turns. So it doesn't seem like much, but with the long, absolutely powerful straights that it has, it is going to lead to some fantastic racing, I am sure.
Indeed, it will. And just for good measures, I was about to say, a very warm welcome to all of you tuning in here. We're just about to get qualifying underway. So good to have you along, Soda and Grosso, the Portuguesers there, single filer in chat as well. Will Murdoch, welcome to you. Felix, what a drive yesterday, alongside Chris, who's of course racing here tonight as well for VLX, to put on a brilliant performance. Felix, the Rainmaster, I think we could safely call him that after mastering the 787B around Spa for an hour in the wet without anything.
Yeah.
Matthew, welcome to you as well. Maverick, good to have you along. Laylister is here for 25 points in chat. And Usha here along as well. So the welcoming is done, and I think qualifying is just about to begin. You were saying something, Fynn?
Yeah, I just wanted... track's nature is there's so many corners, but yet they all lead onto straights, and the major one will be the downhill hairpin, which then links into 2 mini straights, which will be prime position for overtake.
And speaking of overtake, we'll have Fynn keeping an eye on the overtake levels of the drivers and fuel and tires and such as well, to keep us in the know. It's like having a man in the down on the pit wall, basically.
Yeah, it's our very own booth pit mechanic, basically.
I am Ted Kravitz.
Exactly, I was looking for. I couldn't remember his name, but of course it is Ted Kravitz, or at least for today. And Fons is with me on the Discord screen share. As we're alongside with the race rules in the very immersion-breaking chase cam. And I have to say, I love what a meme it's become, the entire cockpit view. I mean, I must admit, I tend to drive sims that are pretty much cockpit view only, or that at least makes most sense. But when you drive with a wheel, you kind of don't want, like, a bumper cam is okay, but you know, once you get used to cockpit view, it really is the nicest, I feel. But it's just the notion that something is wrong, especially like a game like GT Sport, where you have people driving on a pad and you have the lack of mirrors, and there's a lot of things that kind of, you know, makes the chase cam a very viable thing to use. You can see Super GT was using it for a long time.
Yeah, I think it makes it a lot easier if you have three screens, so you can actually look to the sides. That would help a lot to be able to use the cockpit view. I think you see Max Verstappen has that setup, and obviously not anyone can have that setup. It's quite expensive.
Yeah, especially on GT, as it only allows one screen as well.
Yeah, and another thing that GT I think lacks is also the ability to adjust your field of view from the cockpit view as to get a correct field of distance to what's around you, and because that's really important for being able to rely on your visual inputs and not only what you feel through the steering wheel. That said, the drivers, they're on to the first of the flying lap. We're watching Aura here.
Yeah.
In a
leading the train.
Leading the train, and in a. Is that that's not the? No, it's not. Of course not the stock livery. That's the recreation of the GT5, GT6 Formula One machine. Don't remember what it was called, but at least that's a pretty good recreation of one of those liveries. Well thought out, Aura. Nice work there.
Interesting to note on this lap is that Aura hasn't used any overtake, whether he's saving himself for that last minute lap, or he hasn't got overtake mapped, or he's forgetting. But Jomas behind him is going flat out, as well as the others, like Cooper, for instance, who's just come round that really technical hairpin now on the straight, using all that overtake to get the best lap for TX3.
As we go on board with Cooper on the back straight down towards that. We can call it a hairpin, but it is a fast one of its kind. As Cooper absolutely sent it in there. This is going to be a lap to watch, I think, into the final part here. The S's with a bit of a drop, a dip here, and another one. Quinton provisionally on pole with a 42.5.
This track looks quick from Cooper.
Yeah, it is very nice to watch. This track with these cars.
A bit off there, Cooper, actually. Quinton half a second clear on Joni, who looks to be getting a little held up by Choma in this situation.
We'll have to talk about Joma's livery also.
Yeah. So Quinton using all his overtake on that one lap, so that's him pretty much done for this session. Whereas Joni literally didn't even use a quarter. So only 5/10 off of someone who drained overtake. That'll be interesting for his next lap.
Already talk about the fake nose of the Lazarus car of Choma here. Chat, look at that sleek nose. It's a radically different design than the rest of the cars.
He's cheating with his arrow there.
Yeah, I thought they were like the Lara spec build chassis here, Choma. Then you just come with your Lazarus money and your custom nose. Oh well. Oh well. So qualifying laps.
For a qualifying lap, they do seem to be struggling and fighting quite interestingly. It's very close.
This is not what you want for your qualifying laps at all here across the line. This is going to be their final lap.
Here's Chris on his final lap. What will that be? It will be second, not enough to beat Aura, who came out of nowhere in that session, using all that overtake on that final lap. Quinton staying in P3 for now. Olympic only 4th as it stands. The huge talk is that Chris, after a fantastic last round, has levelled out what was a very dominant first round for Olympic, which now means they are tied for points coming into this round, 2 VLX boys. So the best position on the grid definitely help for the race.
Yeah, and they're with a massive advantage to the rest of the field as well. So that's certainly worth noting there. Aura on pole position, 1:42.384. 0.02 of a second ahead of Chris there in second. So let's just say it's not a lot of time. We somehow got. Oh, that's when you're spectating lap times. Then you get kicked off. Don't worry, we won't lose the replay or anything. But here we are. They'll be off very shortly indeed. I think that's usually how it is.
straight into the grid now for the sprint race.
That guy with the checkered flag is going to be there for a long time with the checkered flag. I think he can put it away. They're just getting started.
Is there someone missing on the grid?
Is there a problem? Oh, they're off here. I thought they were still for a long, long time indeed here. And so they were. Chris gets away very well on the outside there into turn 1, and he's taking the lead. And let's see, is anyone gonna... Oh, there was a bit of contact there behind us. I think that is... Is that Olympic who's forced wide? I'm not sure. No, he's on the inside. He's 4th place. It was Quinton indeed in the waffle machine. The Belgian.
Oh, he hits Olympic wide into the next turn.
Oh, my word, indeed it is. And they're really...
Here comes Jonas.
Contact. That was Ryan there in the battle for P8. The midfield fight very close indeed. Someone shoved wide. That's Shoma. Oh, he's lost.
Side-by-side action.
Oh, I think someone's been wiped out here. That's Joni. And it was right in our picture. Out ahead, it's Chris, Aura, and Flopsy breaking away. Olympic doing the best he can to try and keep up. He's got Quinton, Ryan, Shoma, and Pinkery for company there. Here is Ryan going for the overtake.
Slipstream now.
Oh my word, that's very quick to have used all of that overtake, and there's a bit of a shunt there as well.
Here comes Nick using a lot of overtake to get the overlap there on Quinton.
So much drama in this first lap. It's very hard to keep up with everything going on.
As Aura's now past Chris, who has... Well, Aura has used a substantial amount of overtake compared to Chris. Chris just tapping down the straight, whereas Aura draining it to 3/4. Interesting strategy as they're side by side to the final turn.
They are side by side indeed here onto the final straight. Oh.
This has meant that Olympic is now back in slipstream range. If they keep fighting, Olympic will take this opportunity to slip on by. As you say that, Chris has gone very wide into T1.
So Aura, Flopsy, Chris, Olympic, Shoma up into 5th place, then Ryan 6th, Pinkery in 7th, and Race Royce in 8th place. That's the running order here as we're on to lap 2 of 9 here in the sprint race, and Olympic has a huge moment there. Whoop, whoop. And I think he just about manages to hang on. That was a very, I think poop has come out of his
Code Brown.
Big Code Brown moment there as
Jean-Mas on the side of Olympic going into the end of the bridge.
He's got a big run here and he's gonna get it done, and so does Ryan there with an opportunistic move, I think, up the inside. Olympic down into 6th place.
You cannot blink because you will miss about 3 or 4 overtakes.
Huge amounts of action going off here. Early days. Further down the field, it's Cooper in 10th place, hunting Pinkery. Race Royce is down in 11th, and Joni, who had that very unfortunate moment, is in 12th at the moment. So we'll hop back up here. Aura leading now by 0.7 of a second. Flopsy really had the pace in practice, so it could be that Flopsy is the man to watch here. 2 Germans leading.
Aura is really showing his class in these opening laps. It's very dominant to jump in and immediately set pole position and just fly out, staying clear of all the problems and issues and drama.
It's getting crazy in the background. Cooper is now up into 8th after something has happened to Pinkery, who's now dropped all the way back. 6 seconds behind Johnny, who is then further 4 seconds behind Nick.
Somebody off track there.
Someone's off there. Yeah, that's Nick. Indeed, as we say that in full choir. That is indeed Nick. We're on board here. Oh, he just misses the apex, goes onto the grass. I think he manages to keep it under control. It's a sketchy moment though. But Cooper, who has to go around there, I think he just manages to. Here onto the bridge they come, and they're all on the bridge pretty much at the same time, so it's still a very compact field. A few gaps beginning to open up there between Chris in 3rd, Ryan in 4th. There's a bit of a gap between them. And then I think there's a little bit of a gap further down the order, but it's really not a lot. And they're absolutely flying at the moment. Flopsy.
Ryan's really pushing and catching up to Chris and really pulling away from Jomas as well, who's, you must have said, he's now got one of the fastest people in the series right behind him.
Ryan is using overtake. We could see the blinking lights atop his head coming down the back straight there, and I think he's going for a bit more of an aggressive strategy in terms of that overtake. You see he's 4/10 up. I think he's about to go purple for this lap, and his light has just gone red as well. So oh, and there's action in behind here. Shoma Olympic, and that's Olympic going past. Oh, and he touches the wall on the outside there.
Cooper's going to have to use some overtake here. He has 3/4, whereas everyone are now running out now. He needs to use this to get into that slipstream range while they're battling.
So while we were watching the replay, Shoma got back in front of Olympic. They're having a grand battle for 5th
Now
at the
side
moment.
by side into the next turn. Oh, a bit of contact.
Shoma just about manages to cut him off here. Oh, and Aura now really under pressure from Flopsy as well. Chris is doing his best to keep up, but he might just be conserving the overtake, trying to stay in the slipstream and just to keep on top of things that way through here. We're about halfway through the race. The sprint race, of course. And mind you, the feature race is going to have a reverse grid from the finishing order of this race. So the winners here will have a lot of overtaking to do.
And with
For
how
sure.
stacked this is, this grid is, it's going to be very, very hard to get any position, even when you're starting in the back. So something to look out for the next race.
The field will also be a lot of an accordion effect, as the slower people up front will be holding the fast ones back, as well as people starting on different compounds. Will mean that what we saw in Spa, people like Olympic might be picking them way through the field on the soft compounds, whereas the rest are on the hards.
Yeah, the drivers will really have their ability to pull off a good couple of opening laps. That ability will really be put to the test, because it is a special skill to be able to use the chaos and the closeness of the opening laps to your own advantage and gain position. There are some drivers just seems to be just a little bit better at predicting what's going to happen next and where to put the car and such, and I think that's going to be crucial for the feature race.
For sure, as Ryan has doubled the gap to Jomas that lap. Really put his head down and is not even using that much overtake, whereas Chris still has 3/4 of overtake and is less than a second off of the lead as it stands.
That's a good point. So we have
Chris in a
Ryan.
very good position.
Yeah, Ryan beginning to catch up. Aura, 0.4 of a second lead to Flopsy. And as Felix mentioning, Chris probably is just playing the long game here. We'll have to see how that pans out.
We saw it work out last week, where he basically stuck behind his teammate of Olympic and just flew past on the straights, and no one could do anything about it. So, you know, staying in this gap, will he do it again?
It's looking very, very likely. The longer it passes, he's getting that much closer every lap. And if you say he has a lot more overtake, it's just a matter of laps, I think, a matter of corners.
Ryan has really made his way back up and is now well within the slipstreams of the cars in front. And Chris is really beginning to look feisty as well up ahead.
Ryan on the last drips of overtake, so to speak, with Chris now right behind the pack for the lead. Very close indeed, the top three.
Do you hear Aura beginning to go defensive? Flopsy. Oh, they'll be hogging the apex. They're really not trying to give anything away. And this is really heating up the battle for the lead. It's a four-way battle, though I think Ryan is going to have a hard time. Notice there that Flopsy's also spent more overtake, so to say, than at least than Chris has.
Jomas and Olympic side by side. This is very close. Now going into the S section before the bridge. Side by side into that last turn they were, and now it's going to get very close.
Oh, Shoma misses the apex, and he just about keeps it in, but I think he's gonna lose the run. to Olympic this time around, but he's been good at getting back up ahead. Quinton's right behind here, then it's Cooper and the rest, but we're gonna keep our focus on the battle that is up ahead at the moment here. We're on lap 6 of 9 laps of racing to do here in the sprint race, and it's really been close so far. Look at now how Ryan is beginning to lose a little bit of ground as they still have overtake left ahead. Chris, as we're on board with the Dane, still in a good position, and they really fight it hard now. Aura and Flopsy, the two Germans, almost too wide into the hairpin. Flopsy going for the cutback.
This is very close.
It's incredible driving from all these people are being
Aura
so
with the bad exit. Chris right behind.
Yeah, Chris, he's like a coyote waiting for an old sick animal to die in front of him. You know, he's just waiting for the opportunity to just squeeze in. You can see he has the speed on the drivers ahead, and he does have the extra
Ryan's
overtake.
right behind as well.
He's gonna be sending it here. Oh, it's almost a double send from Chris. And Ryan is very much all right behind, and it's a three-way battle for second. They're gonna be careful not to let Flopsy run away with it if they squabble too hard. 3 laps of racing left here.
That almost turned into a fourth fighting for first there in the first split second. Not
Yeah,
fourth fighting for second.
Chris just needs to hold on for that back straight. He has 3/4 of overtake to Aura literally on the last few parts of overtake. He will be a sitting duck. He can't afford to take anyone out of this race.
So, see here also Flopsy empty on the overtake, so let's create some interesting racing here in behind. Olympic has
Here
gotten
comes
ahead.
Chris overtaking Aura on the back straight.
Good call as we run right ahead. I really like having that extra spotter in so we can catch the action, because I so often find myself missing good action while watching some other action because it's just happening in several places at the same time. Now Chris not really getting anything out of that, and Ryan, oh my word, Ryan almost getting it terribly wrong there on the exit. Here it is.
Just goes a little bit wide and
Yeah, but
just touched that ground.
Ryan cannot afford to lose this time. He does not have any overtake left. And I think Chris will have to run on Aura this time around. Let's see here, down towards turn 1. Aura seems to have good pace in the car still. Penultimate
Must
lap.
have used some overtake. So, Flimsy doesn't have any overtake left, right? So
No.
if these two are smart, they should be able to try and get him on some straight. There is no margin for error for the lead man.
If it's like the last 2 rounds, Chris will leave it till the last lap to drain the whole of the overtake and just be undefeatable. Well, if he doesn't get defended against, because in Spa he had 1 car to overtake.
Oh, here he comes.
By the first sector. As he does that, he's now dived Aura.
And I think he's gonna get it done there. Very clean, gives the space, but gets the exit as well, as Aura is forced to compromise his own line. Chris gets the run here as well. A slight touch of that kind of wall of champions there. There are several walls of champions here at St Croix. And you see Chris
getting very, very close.
And he gets it done round the outside here. Can he do that? That's absolutely amazing.
Oh my god, that is incredible.
The Dane around the outside. Let's see this on board. This is absolutely amazing. He sends it in and he keeps it on. I have to say, good stuff from Flopsy to give him the space as well. It's not completely done and dusted though. Chris goes very defensive here. He still has that big bunch of overtake. He's gonna use it on the bridge and the back straight to make sure that he can defend and pick up 25 points here, while Olympic sits in 5th place. This is very good news for Chris indeed. But of course, Olympic should be in a better, or will be in a better position for the
Jomas
feature
and
race.
Quinton side by side into the first of the hairpins. Quinton hasn't got it done. Yeah, he's still on the outside.
Oh,
the grass.
not just show myself to the grass, indeed.
Cooper's just sitting there with,
Oh, and Flopsy's back ahead of Chris. Flopsy's back ahead at the lead.
Spectre.
And Chris is gonna make a carbon copy of the same move from the lap before.
This was that not a replay from? Yeah, that was the replay from before, I think. Was it not?
Nope, that was not the replay from before. That was indeed Chris with the send. Second lap in a row, I think here. Or what? Or was it? It might have been the replay. Was I completely confused there?
It was the replay.
It was the replay. Oh, Dirtenism's happening.
Oh, Dirten.
I thought it was. I mean, that's why I said it was a carbon copy of the move from the lap before.
Well, you weren't wrong. You weren't lying in any way.
Chris, 1.6 seconds ahead of Aura coming through the final corner.
Yeah, it's
He's
Flopsy
going
second.
to take the win.
He is Chris for the checkered flag yet again for VLX. Flopsy second. Aura in third for TX3. It's Ryan for Phoenix Esports. Of course, Flopsy for THR. Olympic, the second VLX driver to cross the line in 5th place, losing important points to Chris on that occasion there. Quinton in 6th, battling hard with Shoma all the way to the line. Joni for
Oh wow,
T3.
the gap between Joni and Jomas on the line there.
Incredible stuff. And Race Royce and Nick had the same kind of gap between them there further back. Yes, I know it was a replay. I understood that. I got it the first time.
So Chris will now have to start at the back, and
Yeah.
Olympic, now has less cars and he's in a very, very good position actually, because in terms of strategy, it leaves him with an option, a very interesting decision to make here. You can go on the harder compound, get his mediums out of the way, and also be quite further ahead of the rest of the guys, of his real competition for the championship. So very, very interesting indeed to see what Olympic does with his tire choices, in the grand scheme of things, at least.
And
For
will
sure,
Chris
we've seen.
be- Oh, sorry.
We've seen the short stints on the mediums with Olympic in the past, always starting on the soft compound and cutting his way through the field. There'll be a lot less work for him today compared to the previous races. But will he stick to that strategy, or will he change? Because it always seems like he is stuck at the end of the race with no overtake and on the harder compound.
That is true.
That is true, and it's a very good point indeed. And I feel like it's an interesting point. We've seen these short stints on the mediums just basically get him out of the way as quickly as possible, and that's been done with great success. Chris did it brilliantly at Spa last week in the feature race, starting from the back as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the same kind of strategy being applied, especially since both tire and fuel consumption is only ×2 for this race.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's gonna be very, very, very entertaining. Even more action-packed, especially towards the end of the race, like always in these longer races, when we see the strategy come into play and just unfold throughout the laps. And it has happened in the previous races, so we expect nothing less and nothing more than a very, very exciting feature race in just a second.
So from what I can see here, at least, of course you can't see it because I'm not showing it to you at the moment. But Cooper's the only one I can see of the drivers in here already on the softs. A lot of the drivers who will be starting at the back, seemingly starting on the mediums. And I think that's an interesting... Oh, do they have kind of pit bug or something? Yeah. Oh yeah, there is a pit bug. We just don't. Oh yeah, you see the smoke out there.
A few people taking the opportunity in this break to restart their game and delete their temporary data, just so this can be as smooth as possible. We don't know any bugs like we had in the Simpact event.
Well, Saturday
game...
was bug ridden indeed, and then Sunday was quite a bit smoother. So I'm gonna do the same. I'm just gonna be out for a quick network then a reset. Not that I think it has too much influence that someone is spectating the lobby, but you never know.
Yeah, you might be the reason why.
I hope not. I certainly hope not.
Dirten, destroyer of connections.
Well, that was a very entertaining first race.
That was really good indeed. Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Fons.
It's so hard to keep up with all the action and all the drama, and especially I'm not surprised, but it's always nice to see how clean and how clean they can make these races so entertaining. It goes to show that you don't always need to be so aggressive, especially in these daily lobbies. You know, you can tell the difference between these guys, the amount of talent we have out here driving fairly. It leads to some extremely great, extraordinary good racing to see.
It is true that the lineup we have for this series is very close to being the absolute top class of GT Sport, and it is really showing in the quality. I touched upon it earlier as well, but the quality of the racing we've had so far, very clean, very respectful, obviously drivers that really know what they're doing. And then that 120% weight setting that we hadn't mentioned for this stream actually, but that the fact that they're carrying more weight, what kind of difference does that make? Well, it's supposed to lessen cars' tendency to be affected by dirty air, which really aids their raceability as well.
I mean, if you look at these races, they've all the cars have been so close together, and there have been some occasions of some people going off, especially in turn one. But in general, in an actual FIA race, I think at least when I drove these cars, it was much harder to drive that close. So I think the organizers putting 120% weight for that effect did work, and I haven't heard any complaints about it in terms of the car's handling, and so it has had the effect that we wanted it to have. So it's just made us have better racing, closer racing is possible because of it, I think.
From this, we've had obviously the test race, which was very good at Sardinia as well, which Fons streamed. And then we had Red Bull in the wet, where people could run very close there as well, even with dirty air and these cars. And just that 120 weight, which basically reduces the top end speed of these cars, which is where dirty air is very prominent with these cars, which it makes it a lot easier for people to follow, as well as decreasing any possible mistakes that people can make because of it.
And that is music to our ears in the booth. We want the closest possible racing to be had. We want the drivers to be able to be centimeters from one another, not meters and car length and such. We want them to be very up and close. They can kind of stick their head out there or hand out the cockpit and, you know, nudge the other people on the side of the head. They're side by side. That's how close we want them to be. And they certainly have been. Which isn't
advised.
No, I think like keep it to going for firsts, you know, keep it there, and I think everything will be all right. Watching Nick, who's now on his board or typing or whatever.
So
should we have a quick livery update? Because I feel like a week is a long time to really show how great these liveries are today.
Well, let's have a look from one end to the other. Then I think it's a good idea. Fynn here, Olympic, and the VLX machines for this series is colored by the national colors of the drivers. So obviously an orange machine for the Dutchman. We've got the Phoenix Esports car, which looks very nice, very true to their original color scheme. What we see, it always looks sharp. Chris and the Danish red-white VLX machine, crisp as always. Actually, don't know if it was Felix or someone else who did the VLX liveries this time around.
I love the small chrome touches on the halos for all the VLX cars. It just adds that texture to the liveries. It's not just one red blob. It's very dynamic in the way they've done it. Props to Felix, who I do believe made this livery.
Yeah, agreed.
And then of course Pinkery, the third of the VLX machines in here today, in the white, red, and with red and light blue detailing, a bit of black in there as well.
Resembling a bit of Williams there, if I...
Yeah, that's very Williamsy. Thank you, Fons, for pointing that out. That it's very, very true indeed. Joni in the Audi car. That's one we've pointed out before. Joni and Flopsy driving the Audi Sport liveried machines, and I like the look of those as well. We've got Rambo, who's new. To the best of my belief as well. Or was he just in Division 2, the other races, and sitting in here?
No, he's a teammate of Flopsy who has...
Oh, yeah, THR, of course.
Came in last minute. Some people obviously can't make it for this
round.
Running
the HSBC Jag livery. That's nice to see in effect here. Beautiful.
It does look really nice in this at this time of day, right? With like the chromy look.
I think it's it's a little more chromy than the Jag originally was, but indeed. And then the Bitcoin livery, you've been waiting for that one, Fynn.
Also thing I noticed was the eyes, which are bleeding on the front nose. Very gothic. As he rams Olympic into the metal railing there twice.
a bit of Dutch love.
Dutch.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have Shoma. Look at that thin nose. The nose that everyone is talking about. It's this nose, the Lazarus nose.
He doesn't want
really see
anyone
it here,
to see the aero changes that he's made, so he's just parked it in the garage and put the covers on, turned off the lights.
Brilliant.
He's got that cosmetic surgery on his livery for this race. With the different nose.
Very nice liveries. It does take quite a lot of work, and you always have to praise the people who take their time to make these. You can also see who has been quarantining right in these times and who hasn't.
That is I think that's a good point as well.
So,
we got the final getting underway
Yes.
now. The feature race, 22 laps of racing here from the big croissant. The pain au chocolat. The pain au chocolate. Oh. Oh.
Christ.
Just wanted to murder that one. Because I can. So, of course, reverse grid, which means Pinkery's on pole in front of Nick, Race Royce, Cooper, Joni, Shomar, Quentin, Olympic, Ryan, Aura, Flopsy, Chris, and Rambo, who just joined in here, so he'll be in 13th place. Let's see if they get packed on the grid for as long time as they did before, and in that case, let's hope that there won't be any overheating on their off. Pinkery gets a brilliant start, and we are on board with the wang cam of Nick, the Vanquish driver here, second place. Cooper on the outside. He gets all the way around, and he takes out a couple of drivers. And how did the field avoid that spinning car in that situation? I have absolutely no clue at all. Let's have another look at that. That was insane. I mean, there was no kind of apex. He got a bit of a touch, got sent wide, and it wasn't even the ghosting. They genuinely managed to miss him. Amazing stuff. Pinkery's ahead by a second now. Nick with a bit of an advantage as well. Quentin in, you see, there's a Jerry, the IGTL duck.
Yeah.
on the back wing of Quentin's machine there. A bit of waffles on the side as well. Very Belgian. And Joni and Fons show my. And as the curse of the commentator strikes. Who was that? The car was in fourth behind
Joni?
Quentin. I think it was Joni. Yeah. Yep. He clipped the curb and he went straight into the wall. Joni.
Again,
indeed.
So frustrating for a driver.
On
Twice.
that one, twice.
Twice. He gets
Poor
so
man.
many commentator curses. He must be the most unlucky human living on this planet, I tell you, for that reason.
He does have 22 laps to catch up, so it's not all over yet.
Joni has
From
bad
that,
voodoo
though,
karma. I think that's it.
yeah.
Someone breaks off. Who was that? Shoma pitting in.
Into the pit
So
lane
we see
with Ryan.
all the medium runners are pitting in here. Early days goes for everyone except Chris, who is not on the mediums, or is he?
He is.
He is on the
And he has
mediums.
been jumped? No. No, he hasn't. So he's ahead of the pack with who are just dispatched of the mediums, who are now softs. See how this works, because not many corners and there's a lot of straights. Losing slipstream might be key for this strategy to work. Chris obviously well in Flopsy slipstream.
Yeah, that's Race Royce ahead, but
Race Royce, yeah.
Never mind that. It's all the same.
So all the drivers up front are on the soft tires, I believe, right? Yes, it would make sense. I'm not sure if somebody in all that chaos in the first turn got ahead. I think Chris is the only one that stayed out, right? So this is going to lead to some very interesting situations. As two cars go side by side, is that Nick defending?
No,
doing the cutback?
That's Pinkery defending from Quentin. Quentin on the outside here, down towards the S's. Nick defending from Olympic and behind indeed, the Vanquish car. But up ahead we have a panoramic view of the battle for the lead, and they both caught up big time here. So now it's a four-way battle here coming on to lap 3. Amazing stuff. Maybe a little bit of contact there and an opportunistic move from Olympic, who goes up 2 places with this brilliant stuff. And the Dutchman is in a really good position now. Oh my word. And the interesting thing to see is Chris gonna come in this time around. He's gone past on Race Royce. We're gonna have another look at this one, because up ahead things got very spicy into the last corner there. Quentin ahead, and Nick with the slight squeeze from Olympic.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
Not at all. So Quentin now leading Olympic, Pinkery, Nick, and Chris in 5th place. And we have Fynn just coming back into the lobby shortly, I think.
I was getting endless tree cam, and as much as I love the tree cam, I would like to watch the race.
Hey, Morten, good to have you along. Liberty Giggy. That's a good username. Welcome to you as well. A pink Mercedes on a super formula car. Yeah, that's pretty much right, playlister here. The lead battle is heating up as Olympic is gonna come down the inside. And Quentin is gonna come right back at him, and he's gonna give him the slight shove into the gravel there. The question is how much actually happened. You see, oh, he also really acts his own doing Olympic outbreaks himself, and he spins all the way around.
Ooh. That's gonna
And
be
look at this
devastating for
Olympic in 8th place. Now he's behind Chris. What a disaster for the top runner. Mind you, he was in a perfect position to try and pick back some points. Some of the lost ground from the first heat here, as I think Chris has gone in. Yes, he certainly has. Alongside Race Voice as well, so they'll be going on to the softs. And will he be out? No, he'll be out behind. So I don't think that extra lap actually paid off too well for Chris here in 9th position now, but we'll see how it turns out later in the stint. The incident here has left Quinton with 2.5 seconds of a gap. Nick is now ahead of Pinkery, who's in 3rd. Cooper up into 4th place. Joni now 5th. Olympic in 6th. Then Shoma 7th. And Flopsy in 8th place. Behind them is championship leader or shared championship leader, Chris.
Yeah, 4th place, otherwise known as the Battle of TX3 at the moment. Johnny and Cooper right close to each other, as well as Olympic, who's just regained from that crash, and Jomas behind him as well.
And then behind Shoma, Flopsy. So they're all still very close in this tight battle here. There's a bit of a gap now. Oh, there's a big overtake run there from Joni, deciding to
Olympic
make the move, and Olympic getting very sandy as well. Cooper holding him off.
Olympic already half overtake used.
Oh, they made contact there, did they not? I think Olympic might be lagging a little bit on our screens here. I hope it's not the same for everyone else.
It's the same for me.
Hope his connection holds up.
Nick pits for the mediums. He's going to take them off and put on a fresh pair of softs.
And I think everyone will, all of the medium starters will then have put on the softs now. And oh, that might prove to be a big advantage later in the race here. Choma, he got rid of those mediums as well quickly, early on.
Jomas is on the mediums as of now.
He's on, no, he's on the softs. It shows softs on mine.
Oh.
Yeah, he only did 1 lap on the mediums in the first stint.
Interesting. It says mediums on mine. Wow, my game is screwed tonight.
Oh my. Amazing, trustable information from the. Oh my word. Cooper
right there,
using
overtake.
Yeah. Cooper, I think, doing the exact same thing to try and defend, but there really is no defending this one. Although he could stay side by side here, maybe keep the inside line. Ah, no, there's no defending that one. Shoma glides up into 5th place, although he might become a sitting duck here on the back straight. With the Americans so close in behind, there is also a good battle going on between Flopsy and Nick, with the Vanquish Esports driver right on the tail. Oh, here he comes for the send.
For a lunge.
Ooh.
Flopsy almost held on to it there, but just not managing to in the end. Here we are on board with Nick. You can really see, and here comes the send. We go on to the wang cam to see where does Flopsy appear.
Didn't
you
appear.
can see that there he comes. Okay, so there's, but he leaves plenty of space there on the outside, Nick, it has to be said, so can't really say anything about the... Oh, and Chris got past Flopsy in that situation as well. Really good for Chris, who's now on a mission. Oh, and the man on the mission has gone wide in turn 1.
Chris.
And this is...
Brian now on the right hand side. He's got that move down. He's going to have dirty tyres going to the next turn.
Yeah, this is by no means the Chris we're used to seeing. And all the while, Quinton up and out ahead by 4.5 seconds. Of course, mind you, Quinton on his original set of softs. The same goes for Pinkery. And I think that'll be about it. Perhaps Olympic, Joni as well.
Yeah, I mean, Quinton's looking very good right now. He has a lot of overtake spared, which means if he gets on that medium tyre and does a long stint, he can defend on the straights, which is very key because there's not many real corners on this track to gain such an advantage on the soft tyres with little to none overtake compared to his three-quarters.
Very good point.
Indeed, so we'll have to see whether he's going to be able to...
Oh,
get the
Johnny and
strategy right.
Pinkeray side by side. Very touchy into the kink there, but Johnny's got it stick. Right there, ahead of Pinkeray into the S's.
Oh, he just... that's half a car onto the grass there to squeeze on. Became a big moment all of a sudden there, but Johnny really getting a move on as well. But Olympic, very close in behind. Olympic who is on. Oh, Olympic, of course, on the same set of softs that they started on as well. So, in the end, that gap time-wise from Olympic, as you see here, to Chris, who's at the end of this pack here, that's certainly not going to be enough for Olympic to make that pit stop.
And with that spin, it has costed him all of the track position, because now he's fighting with people who have already got rid of the mediums.
Indeed, so not a good position here for Olympic. 6.3 seconds off though. Very short pit lane here as well, and I don't know what the pit delta is for tires. Of course, fuel takes a bit extra time, but the question is, will they even have to fuel here today?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, they will have to, because they're... yeah, I think they will have to.
You know what? It's gonna
It'll be
close.
close.
Tight. It's gonna be tight and close, and anyone good at fuel saving could at least gain some valuable time there.
Ooh,
Oh,
Chris really desperate to get past Ryan here. This is his strategy to try and get that lead that he needs in the championship.
That is true. We have to think about the long game here. That championship.
The question is, at Tower ×2, are they going to be able to make a set of soft last the distance having pit? That might be why Chris waited a couple of laps, because he thought I might be able to actually use that single set of softs all the way to the line without losing too much time over the final couple of laps.
I believe, Dirten, the tires are on ×3.
Oh, the tires are ×3.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I that's what I had written down here. I may be mistaken, but that would definitely be a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, big difference.
Amazingly though, is Quinton's tyres for not pitting are in great shape. Rear tyres better to his counterpart of Johnny behind him. And he has the most fuel in the pack. As we say that, Ryan is now...
Chris around the outside there, that's an amazing move from the Dane.
Chris is loving these outside moves, isn't he?
He hasn't done anything but pulling him off all day. That's been such a pleasure to watch. He's really showing that he does indeed have the skills and the mastery of this car to put himself through the field. And indeed, I was just checking Fons. It is ×3 tire wear here, so of course.
Chomas, Olympic and Pinkeray now. This is a tasty battle.
Oh yeah.
For 5th to 3rd.
Oh, and here comes Nick, wants a part of it as well on the inside here of Shoma onto the back straight, and Shoma's getting squeezed in, but he had the run, he had the slipstream, and he had a bit of overtake as well to use. And in behind, Flopsy is now carrying forward Chris as well, and I think Chris is going to try to do what he usually does, and to save as much overtake as usually possible. And Shoma goes for the lunge into the...
Nick with the switchback getting both.
Oh, Nick with a double overtake. Up into 4th place. Beautiful move.
Wow.
And that is what the Czech driver, I guess it is, yes. Beautiful one indeed. Absolute class move.
Sometimes as a driver you have to also, as two drivers.
Shoma, Olympic, Ryan in as well.
This whole group pitting every time together, you must wonder, all these people on the same strategy and they all have each other's slipstream.
Yeah, Cooper's in as well, getting rid of his set of mediums. Ryan put a lot of fuel in the car there.
Wow.
And Quinton is still sitting on that 3.3 second advantage, so it's come down by around a second since last time we checked, but it's been taking some time for it.
I think Ryan is going to the end on these tyres. If not, he will just change them in the pit lane. Because he has put so much fuel in, which surely must last him to the rest of the race.
Olympics career over? Nah, he's too aggressive, man. I think he's too aggressive. It's just too aggressive. So we're watching Joni scrape that outside wall. Nick now up into third place with that round of pit stops. The Vanquish car in a very good position here. And in behind, Pinkery is defending from Flopsy and Chris, who all of a sudden seems to be in a pretty good place as well.
Yeah, Chris pitting the lap later than John Mass. Oh, Chris and Pinkery tapping into the hairpin.
Yeah, I think that
Chris
was actually...
is using the overtake to go round the outside, and the S is not what you would be doing, but he's doing it anyway, round the outside, using overtake still.
And now he's gonna get the run into the final corner and get it done there.
What a beautiful camera angle.
And then into the pits goes Pinkery indeed as well there. Yeah, there's...
Pinkery played that really well actually, because he forced Chris to be using quite a lot of overtake when he didn't really need to that much. And that might cost him later down towards the end of the race.
Chris was not letting that photo shoot moment go. He was holding the overtake until the last moment.
It is a beautiful camera shot, isn't it? With seeing the exhaust blow out from the car in that WAN cam, and seeing those two cars battle it down the straight. It's quite mesmerizing to see. Also, just to mention that Chris has been able to do quite a lot of overtakes around the outside, and that is no thanks to how clean and how proper and sensible these other drivers are all possible in a regular daily race, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. You really need to trust the racers that you're racing against in such a situation to actually leave you the space to go around the outside, because you are going to be intruding on someone's racing line and people are going to hold off not to take you off. So that indeed requires a lot of trust. We see Shoma there jumping past Race Royce up into 6th place. We're sitting 4.5 seconds down on Chris at the moment, and I am not quite sure as to... Oh, and Flopsy? Flopsy's gotten back past... No, that was Pinkery before.
Quinton into the pits from the lead.
From the lead for the first time, and Joni follows him in. And Joni
I've
has
just
not...
realised on the halo of Quinton, there's Jerry.
Beautiful. But that pit stop here, halfway distance, more or less, that pit stop means...
And he's came out just ahead of Jomaz, who was the other pack. Quinton's still on the soft, so he's going to have to pit again for the mediums.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's going to leave Nick at the head of affairs now, 2 seconds ahead of Flopsy and Chris.
Nick has used the mediums, if I'm correct.
Nick started on the mediums, I think,
Yeah.
from the front, which is a very interesting strategy. Not sure if it would pay off, but apparently it's looking quite good up till now.
Yeah, so far it's really been paying off well for him. He's the de facto race leader. All pit stops taken into consideration as well. And these standings are trustworthy, because I think more or less all the cars are going to be pitting again once. I think, although Quinton, the only one who has yet to use the mediums, if I'm not completely mistaken.
Quinton just hit the wall there.
Gonna do good old Formula 1 97 Murray. Fons! That looks as if he just robbed the wall there!
Now Jomas right behind Quinton going into the S section.
How did he not get past?
Dangerous.
How did he not get past?
Dangerous.
How did he not get past? Oh, Shoma with a huge squirm.
Quinton defending very heavily. He's going to have a very optimized exit here. He's using overtake to get the best exit though. Jomas is still there.
Olympic in.
Bump drafting.
I think this is what we just saw in the last few corners is something we maybe wouldn't have been able to see without the 120% weight on these cars. I think this is exactly why we put that on, and it shows that it's working. They were so close. It was almost like Jomas was trying to bump draft Quentin in the corners, and that's I mean, that's not what you want to see in downforce cars in the first place, but hey, at least it's possible to do, so you can't get closer race to race action than that.
For sure. Quentin really squirmy off of that curb on the bridge. I've noticed that in the last few laps. He's really taken all the curb there as well as Jomas hits the wall.
Whoa. Nick with a bit of a scraper there as well. And Chris is gaining quickly. Chris is flying up on it at the moment. That gap is melting away. And the Dane well within the slipstream. It's going to be a lunge within the next lap, I predict.
Like a bull seeing the cape. He is storming.
Only a Spaniard could say that.
0.4 of a second up on the purple lap at the moment, set by Ryan. And the gap is now down to 0.3 of a second. It was 2.5 as they started the lap, and I'm sure Nick must be wondering, what should I be doing here? He pits in to get some fresh rubber on the cars. A new fastest lap.
Stuff there.
Yeah, indeed, new fastest lap for Chris, 45.222.
Now, quite a big gap to Quentin now.
I was just about to say, we've been left in a strangely familiar situation now. Something I feel like we've seen before in this series. Where Chris has gained the lead. And from what history will teach us here, chances are he's going to keep it till the checkered flag.
People really need to be learning this strategy. He's holding back. Looks like at some points he's dropped off the field and has no contention of the win, but always pulls it back in the strategy to just be miles ahead of everyone else. People need to be learning about what he is doing for the next few races, otherwise this will just be an easy championship for Chris.
And I think
So
he's
deep
also...
there, guys.
There isn't really a meta except for the short stint on the mediums, but even here, he did longer on that first set of mediums than a lot of the drivers who's quite a bit away behind by now. And he's had so much more clean air as well, while a lot of these drivers, Shomar, Race Royce, Nick, Ryan, they've been fighting and fighting and fighting for so long here, as Quentin now really has the company of the Frenchman in behind. He's been having it for quite a while now, and he's still dealing with it pretty well. Shomar also coming here with, as he tends to do, with limited practice, and still shows that he can hang in. That shows a thing or two about his pace. Look at that beautifully narrow nose.
Now this is important. Where will Nick come out in relative to Chris? Has his undercut been good enough so he can jump Chris in the pit lane? I think it might be. Chris has just come out now. Nick is coming into T1 now, just ahead.
But just ahead is only just ahead. But I think Chris has made his final pit stop. The point is, has Nick? We could have a look at Nick's fuel.
I think he has two. He has more than half fuel.
So in that case, we're going to be seeing Chris with a sizable tire advantage towards the end of the race.
Ryan really struggling ahead of him.
Oh, Nick picks up the wall there, coming onto the bridge as well.
Surprisingly, didn't even lose him that much time there. It's slowly scrubbing off to the end of the bridge now. But Chris there right by Ryan. Great stuff.
Racing is close as always. Now we have Quentin in the lead with Shomar and Race Royce, and that's of course following the second pit stop for Chris.
Chris using a lot of overtake in this back straight. Is he going to pass Ryan? He's still in the slipstream side by side. He's now going to get the slipstream of Nick. Will it be two in one corner?
Well, he might as well go for it if he's there, but I don't think he's close enough for it. He just needs to shut it off there for Ryan.
Ryan on the switchback. Will he use the overtake? He has no overtake left.
He has a bit, right? should have
the
a little bit.
important thing that Chris does is, apart from the obvious
Chris
massive
behind Nick.
pace,
Sorry,
Nick,
Fons, do go
Really
on.
defensive was.
And here he gets him here. Yeah, he gets him there up into 5th place. That took.
the action was more important to watch.
that tends to happen. I think we should just have another look at that battle. Impressive stuff here. Just getting past Ryan, and then how much? Let's 2 corners later, and he's past Nick as well.
Yeah.
I think that what Chris does very well is he obviously pace, and he doesn't lose any time when he fights with people. He only uses overtake. He doesn't ever, because of his pace, he only uses overtake to actually overtake, and he doesn't ever go light on that. Then he just uses his pace to get away, and people are forced to use overtake to catch up to him and stay within the slipstream. I think that's the big difference. So he's never actually fighting in time on track, and I think that's the biggest difference between him and the rest of the pack.
Interesting consideration on his tactics there, also to keep back on the overtake and to be able to use it as a tactical weapon late in the race, as we've seen him do with so much success over the series until now. Running order at the moment: Quentin, Shomar for Lazarus, TX3, Joni, Race Royce for R70, then Chris for VLX, sitting 5th at the moment, but standing slightly skewered because of pit stops at the moment here. Nick is in 6th place, Ryan 7th, Flopsy in 8th, and further down the order we have Aura in 10th place, Olympic, Aura is in 9th, and Olympic all the way down in 10th place, quite a bit of way down considering where he is in the
Show us
standings.
pits.
Show us pits
No
indeed.
fuel, as well as Race Royce. Interesting. Race Royce might jump Jomas in the pits here.
Yes,
Quite a
I
lot
think he
more.
will.
yeah.
Quite a lot more fuel there.
I think that is the
Race Royce
Oh!
out now.
He did not, just about not, and they come out in 8th and 9th on track at the moment. That's made it easy for Chris to get past because he's now up into 3rd. He's breaking away from Nick and Ryan. Hey Jimmy, good to have you along. Ola, welcome.
Very interesting to note that Quentin still has to put on his medium tires, if that's correct.
Yes. Quentin still has to pit for the mediums.
So he can't really just pit and go all out to try and catch up to Chris. What's Johnny's situation right behind him on the tires? Has he done his medium stint?
I actually don't remember, but seeing he's on fuel to finish the race and a set of pretty fresh softs, I would believe that he's done the mediums.
Interesting. So this could be a Johnny is in a very good position here if he can.
If
hold
it's the
on
case, I'm not quite sure.
I think he has used the mediums.
Yeah, right? 'Cause in that
Yeah.
sense, he really is in a good position here.
He's been the silent killer here because we haven't really talked much about him, but he's just always been up there, just out of trouble, and it just goes to show how important it is to be out of trouble in these sorts of races. Because I think he's in a better position than Quentin right now.
He's certainly in a much better position than Quentin, because Quentin just has 1.7 second of an advantage down to Joni, and he's losing time at the moment, and he needs to get on the mediums when he comes out the pit for the final couple of laps.
I think we're
Quinton
being
does
told-
have that a lot more overtakes, so he has that in his advantage, as well as track position. He has no dirty air. He has absolutely no sign of it. He is in clean air, and he can basically dictate this race through the corners and defend on the straights as well.
So we're being told that Joni still has to use the medium. So I think Joni
Oh,
following Quentin.
so
Yeah.
okay, so we see these two are on very much the same strategy, and they are going to be coming out behind Chris. The gap for 5.5, 6.5 seconds. That's not going to be enough for a pit stop.
Gotta say though, Nick has not dropped off of Chris, and if he does, it's very slowly. He's putting in these solid lap times, which is just keeping him there. And if Chris makes a mistake, he might end up in trouble here.
It's very interesting. He was putting purple sectors still when Chris was right behind him. So it'll be interesting to see how he tires, especially in that dirty air, towards the end of the race. See if he can stick to the absolute rocket that is Chris in these cars.
You see these drivers are in their pace at the moment in the low 45s, and here Flopsy, new fastest lap, 1:44.151. That's a very fast-paced Flopsy, who's in 6th place at the moment, catching up quickly to Ryan, who has fallen off the pace quite drastically.
Ryan,
what are you doing? So I think we're really, and we're getting towards the pointy end of things here. So, Quentin, Joni, they're going to be trying to stretch these softs as far as humanly possible, I think. Chris going to be hoping to be able to catch up to him and to take him. Oh, and Chris is actually getting low on overtake here as well now. So, he is beginning to settle into the rhythm of using it over the last couple of laps here.
I think Chris might be scared. I don't know if Chris knows the tactics or what tires the two guys up front have used or not. So maybe he's just trying to press on in case they don't have to pit to be close enough.
That's a really good
Quinton's tires are definitely looking second hand now, but he has a lot of overtake in hand. So if he does pit on that in lap, he may just use all of it to kind of equal with the fresh soft pace and get a good in lap.
Playlist to just
it's Johnny side by side with Quinton into the final turn.
Playlist that just killed me completely. In chat.
Is it enough for 25?
It's gonna be 25 for that one, I think. Quentin is going for Jawin.
Oh, Joni round the outside.
Whoa, beautiful move there. What a move there, Joni. Look at this here, the camera. Just spotting Quentin, and Joni runs on past.
Beautiful move.
Indeed it is, but it's not going to be aiding their advantage down to Chris. Just 4.8 seconds now, and he's really running away from Nick. It's now 2.8 to the vanquished driver. So
yeah,
Chris
45
is
flat to Chris's 46.7. 1.7 on one lap lost to Chris. As we see Jomas, who's dropped off like hugely in this race. I thought at one point he was battling with Ryan, but now he's attacking Aura with a lot more overtake. It must be said, he's still got near on half overtake, but I don't know if that will help him close that huge gap to Ryan.
I think.
Sorry.
I think at the beginning of the race, everybody followed Jomas in pits on that after that first lap, opening lap with the mediums. And the people that didn't go in, which were with the mediums, which were Nick, I believe, and
Royce passes Aura. Sorry to butt in, but Aura was just a sitting duck and has just lost 2 positions on that straight for literally having no overtake to the people ahead of him.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think it may have been a bad move to go so early on. Into the pits after that one lap with those mediums, because Nick is in a much better position than Jomas, Race Royce, or Ryan, who all went into the pits in the first lap.
Oh, contacted T1 there with Race Royce and Jomas, which now means that Aura is getting involved here using his overtake. This battle certainly isn't over.
Very much isn't. Welcome, Ethan. Good to have you along. Better late than never. And hey, your pro rank, is that in Simracing system or what? Still not bad at all. Yeah, Ethan is a fast boy.
Oh, Jomas diving. Race Royce in the S section.
What a move from the Frenchman. Here it comes.
And Aura's there.
Coming onto the bridge. Very good one indeed.
Still
Aura
side
is
by
there.
side.
Oh, trying to get
showing his
opportunistic
nose.
there. Race Royce is gonna use the overtake to defend it.
What a battle!
Brilliant stuff. It is very brilliant stuff indeed. Now it's within 4 seconds.
Ooh. All sliding out of position there. Really defensive from Jomas, which is great to see. A bit of barging. Aura's just sitting behind them, waiting for an aeroplane crash to happen ahead of them.
Well, we saw before Nick was able to take a lot of advantage of this situation in the past, and Jomas was sort of doing all the dirty
Quentin
work.
in.
Yeah, Quinton in, and here comes the move from
mediums.
Aura as Race Royce gets blocked off, and Olympic is there as well to try and take advantage and maybe scrap up a bit of extra points here. He's currently in 10th place. He's not going to be liking that at all, and here comes the move. But they both have a bit of overtake left. Shomar's left alone now in the front, and he has a lot of overtake left. He should really be able to use that to break away from these couple of drivers on the penultimate lap here as we are. The situation now, Joni in the lead, but he's going to be pitting onto the final lap to do one lap on the mediums, and that's going to be the final lap. But that means that Quinton actually gets the chance to undercut him here. And I think Quinton is the one with the wiser plan of these two, but I don't think any of them have any answer to the strategy of Chris, who's 4.2 seconds off of Joni. He's 2.7 seconds clear of Quinton with a run to the line now. Of course, Quinton on fresh mediums, but I don't think that's going to be enough.
It's going to be close.
Will Joni have enough for Nick?
Nick is 9 seconds behind, so that's going to be really close. Joni and Quinton is already going to be. Joni and Quinton's already going to be really close as well. With 6.8 seconds. Clinton?
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary? What do you mean, Bill Clinton?
Goddamn Bill. Yeah, Quinton just dropping off slowly to Chris. The medium's just not good compared to the soft tire. Johnny's in.
Make side-to-side contact with that car. Johnny is in, and he's
really
onto the mediums
he's
as
just
well.
Out now.
Oh, he's out, but just behind Quinton.
Wow.
So it certainly worked for Quinton with the fresher tires there in the end, and he's out just ahead onto the final lap. But Quinton has a bit of overtake left. Joni does not. I think that's going to go the way of the Belgian in the end here. Nick is 2.6 seconds off, but again, without overtake as well. Same goes for Flopsy and Ryan. Flopsy looks to be sitting on that 5th place until the end of affairs here. Shomar 7th, Race Royce in 8th. But more importantly, Olympic has failed to really climb the order and is just stuck in 10th place at the moment, while Chris is picking up another win and another double here today.
Yeah, this will be his 5th out of 6 races. I mean, the first round we were looking a bit skeptical in the rain. He didn't perform as Olympic did. But in the dry races, he has just been so quick and so decisive in his strategy, and just the way he, performs in these races.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good point by Single Filer there. Just Johnny was in the wall in the first lap.
Johnny and Quinton are very close into the final corner.
And while you say that, as you said it, 5 out of 6
Quinton's
wins.
run out of fuel. Johnny has got him on the line.
Quinton's run out of fuel. Johnny takes 2nd. Quinton is 3rd. Just 3rd place for Quinton. But what a win for Chris there. Brilliant. Nick picks up 4th place for Vanquish Esports. Not a bad result at all. Flopsy in 5th. Ryan takes 6th place for Phoenix Esports ahead of the Baguette. And Race Royce for R70 in 8th place. Olympic manages to finish 9th, so actually did pick up a place on Aura. On the final lap there, Aura, who finishes 10th. Cooper is in 11th place with Pinkery, finishing in 12th. And Rambo, who's flown completely under the radar as well, I have to say, is in 13th and coming across the line shortly here.
Really impressive racing, especially from Chris. Obviously, we are just getting very used to watching him blow out the rest of the pack. But it's always just as impressive as the first time, because all the circumstances are different in every single race, and it's just incredible to see. Really great racing.
You really have to say that Chris just ekes of class when he gets behind the wheel of these Super Formula cars, and it becomes clear now at this part of the season in the kind of form that he's in now, that he has that little bit extra. He just has that little bit extra that no one else in the field can really seem to find at the moment. And with yet another win, he's put himself in a really good position to go on. And if he can keep this sort of level, he will be hard to deal with for the rest of the season.
Safe to say, Chris has been taking this quarantine very seriously. What a responsible lad this guy is, I have to say.
Yeah, indeed.
Also, a great performance from Johnny. You know, pitting on the last lap for mediums. We didn't think that would happen or really work as a strategy, as we haven't seen this before in the season. We were expecting it much earlier, but it's come here and it's given him a second place, which, you know, to the person who is dominating the series at the moment is in Chris. That's a very good and respectable result there from Johnny.
It very much so is. So what a couple of races we've had here tonight again for another Monday. Indeed, it's been great having you all along. It's been great having you lads in the booth. Fynn and Fons and Fynn. I have to say, I think you sound like two ogres out of a fairy tale or something like.
The magical vanquished duo of Fons and Fynn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like fy, fi, fum, Fons and Fynn, or like a two-headed giant or something maybe, and then each head has its own name. I don't know. This is getting very strange. But what I meant to say is that it's been really enjoyable as always having you lads on board for the broadcast. I do really enjoy these 3-man team broadcasts. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for joining me in the booth. Thanks for joining me out there. At home. I hope you're at home. If not, you should probably. Well, you could be sitting.
Stay home. Save lives.
You could probably be sitting outside, watch your mobile phone, in distance of everyone else, and be totally fine. So let's not be too. Upmost. Actually, speaking of quarantine, I'm going back to work again tomorrow to prepare for. We're gonna have the kids coming back to school at where I work, the school I work at. On Friday, so there's a lot of prep stuff. There's a lot of regulations that we're gonna have to put in, and it's gonna be quite complicated. I hope I'll still have a brain left for commentating and broadcasting on Thursday when we get to the next round of the Simpact Aston. So
thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you Felix. Thank you Mew. Playlister, yeah, that was a great performance again. I think that was really good.
Yeah, definitely leading the championship in chat. That's three clean sweeps now in a row in this series.
Good stuff.
Pat yourself
good stuff
on the back.
So do join us again here on Half the Race Gone on Thursday, as I said, for the Simpact Aston series. We'll. If I'm not completely mistaken, and I know Trials and the Lads will be back this weekend for some iRacing action. And then, of course, the coming Monday, you can see more of this fantastic Super Formula Series, the Vanquish Esports VSRS Grand Prix Series here on Half the Race Gone. It is, of course, on Mondays, 10 minutes to 8. With that said, from me, Dirten DK, from Fons and Fynn, the two-headed beast. Time to be signing off. Do leave us a like if you like what we've done. Feel free to leave us the opposite if you think we're shit crap, as I always say. And if you want to see more, you can subscribe and hit the bell icon to get the notification when we go live. With that said, ladies and gents, take it easy, take care out there. Thanks for joining in, and until next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.